It is our collective and individual responsibility to preserve and tend to the world in which we all live. The Dalai Lama.
Nikki is high energy. She doesn't stop. She's an active person, and I think her creativity, activity, and interest in people and what they're doing is what keeps her young at heart. I mean, she really is one of these older people, if we want to call it. We never think of Nikki as being in her older years, but she wants to be involved and she wants to do stuff. Has kept her young. She walks every morning. She goes on hikes. She's always out there.
When I first met her, when she walked into the room, like all the attention fell on her. She was like so full of energy, vibrant and funky, and you just wanted to know where does she get her oomph from.
I feel like sometimes you have that distance between elder people and the youth, but Nikki has that way of just managing to meet you halfway as a young person. At the same time, she's not trying to be like you or act like you, but she's a mature but a very nice, energetic, that positive aura. You just can't help it but just like her.
Do you actually choose your lifestyle? Doesn't it really just creep up on you? If you live for 60 years, things are going to happen that, I mean, every day, virtually, you have a path, you make a choice. I'm Nikki Brighton, and I live in Howick, which I believe is the centre of the universe. I would describe myself as a writer, an activist, and a locavore. A locavore is somebody who eats local food, so food produced by people that you actually know or you've met, and within a certain radius of where you live. Everyone defines it differently. I think a kind of a general one is about 100 kilometers. I think it should be smaller. I think it should be where you could walk to or where you could get with your donkey cart. But of course, we like to eat an eclectic range of food, so I'm very happy to have a wider range. I'd say KZN, I'd say even the Eastern Seaboard is local for me. But I do like that I'm able to thank everyone personally for what is on my plate. You know, that I think is very special indeed.
To have her around, I'd describe it as to grow. When you're around Nikki, you have no choice but to grow because of the wisdom that she has. I mean, from everything she does, from recycling to writing books to being a blogger, she's just a fountain of knowledge. And being around her just literally means growth and having fun while at it, because she's a very energetic, eccentric person and has a huge sense of humor, like a witty sense of humor. So it's like growing, but in a nice manner, in a fun manner.
I think her work is unique in that it's always evolving. So when I first met her, she was working with schools, and then it led into community-based projects like the Mpophomeni Conservation Group and growing food there and clearing up a degraded area, to inspiring the Ntombenhle project and helping with the initial startup of that, creating a whole new knowledge around, for forgotten indigenous knowledge around imophenos and weeds. So she's constantly evolving.
I am a writer, and I started blogging just after my 50th birthday. I had a fabulous party, a long table, all homegrown pumpkins, everything local and delicious. And I wrote to all my friends to tell them the story. I said, remember this beautiful day, thank you for coming, and I wrote the story. And then everyone was saying, you should have a blog, you should have a blog. And I just thought, oh, I'm a bit of a technophobe. I'm kind of a late adopter of these things. But I just started, and it was magnificent. It was completely made for me. Blogging was made for me because I love photography, I love writing, I love telling the stories. And so since then, I've started a lot of blogs. So I've got a personal blog, which is about my life, mostly around food, called Plant Abundance. And then I've also got a blog that celebrates the Midlands, called Midlands Mosaic. So that is about Midlands, mostly about community members, local people doing fabulous things, about the plants, the animals, the creatures, the villages, the activities of the Midlands. And then I've contributed to lots of other ones as well, but those are my two main ones at the moment.
Nikki has an amazing wealth of knowledge. If you are new in the area and you've got any kind of interest in environment, sustainability, hiking, growing food, living lightly, she's just there. She will connect you with everyone, and she's got so much enthusiasm and passion. So she's always an open book, which is wonderful.
I admire her for her youthfulness. She's like almost immortal, and she has immortalized herself by the work that she's doing in the community. So I wouldn't say she's a go-go. She's very vibrant and so full of youth. And I want to be like that too when I become at that age, like ageless.
You cannot protect the environment unless you empower people, you inform them and you help them understand that these resources are their own and they must protect them. Wangari Mata.
So the foraging is an interesting thing. I've been doing it for many years. It's wonderful, I think, just to be able to walk out your door and find food. I think there's so much free food around that people are just not aware of. But during COVID, an interesting thing happened because I posted every day a weed on social media because I thought everyone's at home now and they're terrified of going to supermarkets. Let me show them what they can eat. And it just exploded. People got so excited. Everybody wants to learn. So it's one of those magic things that has come out of the lockdown. So now I do them regularly, about 3 a month or so. And I'm very fortunate because just where I live is the Mpophomeni River Conservancy, which is a fabulous space for foraging. Loads and loads of weeds. So I just walk down to the river, people meet me at the river. It's a couple of hours long and off we go.
This morning we did a weed walk where we teach people about food that is freely available for everybody. I'm a vegetarian and it's always interesting to find new species of plants that we can eat, or even old species of plants that we have forgotten how to use, but our ancestors have eaten throughout history. So it's nice to rediscover those and be able to use them in the dishes later.
I think one of the things that we think a lot in South Africa is that we have poverty, everyone cannot afford food and whatever. But when you take those walks and you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much food, it's just that we don't look at it as food. We look at it as weed, as something that should be taken off or taken out or whatever, weeded out, but we don't look at it as food. And whilst Nikki is like, this is so much food here, for me, it's always interesting and it just means growth.
The color.
Yes, I know. We need color in our lives.
So can we plant something?
Yes. Yeah, just a little bit because we don't have much.
Mpophomeni is the township on the edge of Howick, just opposite on the other side of Midmar. It's a lovely, lovely place, surrounded by hills, a big wetland in the middle, and I've just had plenty of friends there. So this is when we started this conservation group. So it was all these strong women in the community, and so we just got together and then we started to do some projects. For instance, Ntombenhle had been trying for 8 years, begging the municipality for permission to turn a dumping site into a food garden. And so then we got that fenced, and she created with volunteers, created a beautiful garden, and then markets get started, lots of visits to inspiring places, and also lots of excursions into the wilderness. I also think that's terribly important. People need to be in natural spaces. You're never going to care about the destruction of the forest if you've never been in the forest.
She has the knowledge that a normal Gogo would have, but it's like chilling with a friend who's just way, way mature than you. So chilling with Nikki is just that. Like, you can tell that there is wisdom from the age she's gained. It's just chilling with your friend, chilling with your pal, but a very mature pal.
I think it's terribly important for people to be in nature. I think that's one thing that's also gone a little bit haywire with humanity, is people are very disconnected now. So I think it's great fortune that I still am able to do that. Oh, just the magic of life, honestly. I just think life is incredibly interesting. and people are very interesting, and the natural world is just completely and absolutely magic. Small things. I like the little things. I like the sunny day. I love the pink flowers. I love walking with my dog. Everything just inspires me. Butterfly made my day.
Sooner or later, we will have to recognize that the earth has rights too. To live without pollution. What mankind must know is that human beings cannot live without Mother Earth, but the planet can live without humans. Evo Morales. Being a doctor offers the most complete and constant union of those three qualities which have the greatest charm for pure and active minds: novelty, utility, and charity. Sir James Paget.
Dr. Govender has been a pillar of our family for the past plus minus 50 years now. We've been patients of his, both my entire family and extended family. We've been his patients from a very young age.
He is beyond just an ordinary doctor. He is a self-realized master. And he is so accurate with his diagnosis. He's such a brilliant, in fact, he's a super brilliant doctor, you know, and he respects this fascinating instrument that God has given us, this brain and body. And he respects that so much that he'd understand that he'd give it a chance to work on its own first before pumping you with any kind of medicine.
Well, my father's been a pillar of strength for the entire extended family for many years now. A benevolent force, all in all. Moving everybody in the family towards education. That's his big focus.
Any patient? Send I am Perisami N. Govender. I was born in the fishing village of Finland on the 7th of October 1929. A doctor practicing in the Durban South Basin, that includes Merebank and Chatsworth, and that's a drainage area of my patients. I've been practicing here generationally for about 4 generations. That extends to about 50 plus years.
There are times when I take my father on errands where he has to disclose his identity number. And people do not believe that his identity number starts with 29. And also didn't believe that he's still practicing. So, yeah, a very long life. Things he's seen the Depression. He's seen the wars, world wars. He's seen change in our own country. My father once told me that he believes he's led a full life because he carried Chief Albert Luthuli on his shoulders. He debated with Steve Biko and he shook Nelson Mandela's hand. So that, I think, sums up how he's experienced history personally.
Well, the low was when at the age of 13, my father died of heart attack, leaving my mother, a widow of 33, with 5 children, the youngest being 8 months. And my mother had to fend for herself. Fortunately, we had a little market stall. She went into the stall, learned how to trade, and brought us up. For the next 4 or 5 years, life was very, very tough. We didn't know where the next loaf of bread was going to come from. And that was hard, the war years.
Well, my father has a memory going back to the 1960s when there were very few doctors in the Durban South area. And a ongoing joke with myself and my staff is, if anybody comes from Chatsworth or Merebank, we simply ask them the address of the house they stayed at. And if I ask my father about it, he'll go back 2 and 3 generations and tell us who lived there and who he treated in that house. So that's my father's legacy.
You know, he's like a micro god in this community. He's been here for 50 years, and everybody just adores him, they respect him, they honor him. There's a lot of poor people in this community as well, and he treats them freely. That is unbelievable, but he does that, it's real.
I am bound by an oath, and I religiously follow that oath because it spells out my professional life and vocation. Dr. Neelan Govender.
My father set a good example in as far as honesty and integrity is concerned, and a genuine caring for every human being. He's a humanitarian. I put it down to him starting his career as a teacher. And although he's pursued medicine, it seems to me he's always been a teacher.
Yeah, well, I suffered. Personally, I was an academician. I was never one to come out as a medical entrepreneur and set up practice and make money. My ambition was to qualify as a gynecologist and obstetrician and then work in a teaching hospital. But I didn't realize that dream because of the system. The earliest sign of racial removal. I was a high school teacher in a country school, Ntombenhle, and in that school there were colored and Indian students. And when the Bantu education came about in 1954, first they streamed their black students out. Then in 56, 57, they tackled colored education. And in 57, they gave an edict that all colored children and black children must be removed from Indian schools. With the group areas becoming more and more stringent, we who used to use St. Aidan's Hospital for our patients were suddenly told that people living south of Ntombenhle cannot utilize the St. Aidan's Hospital because Phoenix had come up and Phoenix had no hospital, and the St. Aidan's Hospital will become the hospital for Phoenix people. So then we had a dilemma. We had a group called the Durban South Doctors Guild. It was a professional organization which I started and I was the chairman of. So through the aegis of the Durban South Doctors Guild, I set the ball rolling to start a hospital in Chatsworth. And in 1989, December 6th, I opened up Chatsworth Hospital with 167 beds. Then in 1969, the great dismissal of black medical practitioners took place in this province. That led to a great deal of disruption. That we protested, we went virtually on strike, and in 1969-1970, the province fired all the non-white doctors from Ntombenhle who participated in the strike. I came out at the very early three. In 1967, I was singled out as an agitator. And I was training to become a gynecologist. I had 1 year to go for my time. But then they said, no, you're out. So I was on a limb. I was living in a flat, which is adjoining my current surgery. So I told my wife, one half They give for me to do a surgery, the other half is yours. So for 30 years, I practiced from one half of my flat. Yes, Mrs. Governor.
If you're a patient and you're sitting in front of him, the way you smile is so calm. He's so compassionate. He's so conscious of who you are, where you come from, what's your needs. And if he knows that, patients can't afford, they're not a medical aid, he'll treat them. He doesn't even talk about the money. Is that real in this day and age? But that's who he is.
He has a very gentle heart that's endeared him to the community and their families at large. And I want to say, on behalf of my family and extended family, there's not enough words that one can say to say thank you to Doctor and what he's meant to us and what he's done for us.
Well, medicine eventually became a passion and a way of life. The joy of alleviating pain, the joy of seeing a happy mother with a baby freshly thrown onto her chest, those are the joys. I'm heading 92, and the passion is still there. The joy of caring is still there. It gives me a spiritual uplift.
The doctor focuses on one fellow human being with the goal of figuring out what ails this person and how to fix or alleviate it. It is this act of total presence, I would go so far as to call it a form of love, that would exist at the heart of healthcare, unknown.